Yeah, you know what time it is. Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass, pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick, light it, and blow. It's time to hang with Steel Sharpened Steel after dark.
Hello, Sharpies. I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joy Stevens.
And this is Steel Sharpened Steel. We are by default in After Dark because we're living in dark days, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're always going to be turned. It just means that while we are living in a country that is dominated by outrageous fuckery, we are likely to bring that same sort of energy to the party. Right. So just want to let y'all know.
So, we will match the energy of the people in our audience. So if y'all stay turned, we stay turned. But sometimes we got serious stuff to talk about, and we really need to for real, it's a serious. And sometimes, you get the best of the worst, especially me. I have a tendency to drag Tom into hell with me when I decide I'm just going to cut up. So, you know what? I actually got a friend of mine actually texted me last week, and he was like, run a train through there, pause. Like he caught what I said about China and Russia. I was like, oh, you watched it. Thank you. He's like,
shout out again to Anthony Turner, who was literally waiting on our page to post something as soon as I made the show live. He jumped in with too many shenanigans to count. I was like, wait, did I start the show already? And there he was.
Anthony being here, if it was a way for him to be here and help us edit and get things ready, we would totally do it. Because Anthony be ready. We should make him produce because he'd be ready. He'd be on it every Thursday.
Love,
he had some
that.
Before the show started, a few minutes before the show started, you got Miles Simmons jumping in like, yay. He thought he had it because he got in before the show. No, sir. Anthony was in here at like 5 minutes ahead of you. But Sam, Mr. I forgot the show was on. I was out partying with my friends. Is here on time tonight. I'm so proud of my little baby.
Look at God.
We got Shay. Got to give you time. Hey, Shay, get your drink, girl. If you need one, a stick, light it, whatever you need to do. Because we are in a moment. I'm being serious for a second. We are in a moment where there's so much coming at you that we can't even collect it all to report it all. And trying to stay current on, what fresh hell is this every 20 minutes is nigh on impossible. And if you try, it is going to wear you. It's not just going to fray your nerves. It is lasting damage to your psyche. So if you need to get a drink, hit a blunt, get a gummy, lay out, text your ex, whatever it is you need to do to make yourself feel better, do that. Because we need all the endorphins we can get right now.
So I have to say, we titled the show, Anybody Need a Qatari Jet? Because this seems like this is the thing that is catching him.
Hey,
it looks like there is a threshold through which even his staunchest supporters will not cross. And it makes me happy to see that he is finally getting tripped up just a little bit. So go ahead, Joy.
Did you ever read the series Left Behind?
No, but I did watch The Leftovers, which is a version of Left Behind that I could watch. The Leftovers was the HBO miniseries. It's pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
Where
you guys you tell me you watched that terrible Kirk Cameron Left Behind.
Oh no. No, The Leftovers is basically the same premise of an apocalypse and blah blah blah. Well, so let's jump right into it, because if you haven't seen the cover art that we did for this week's episode, this is what it is. So ChatGPT showed us what they consider to be the version of Trump's new Trump Force One. It's tacky. It's got brand deals on it. It's, you know, I'm surprised they still left it with the blue, because one imagines he'd get some red on there. And this is what the vision is. And for those of you who aren't completely unaware, basically the government of Qatar offered to give Trump the hand-me-down 747. This is a 13-year-old plane.
Yeah.
That was glammed up for the Emir of Qatar, and he's done with it. He wants a better plane.
Right. They just gave Trump a 2012 Honda Civic with a paint job. Like, here you go. And he was like, I'll take it, because he doesn't know quality or taste or anything. And that's the reason I call this the Spirit of Qatar, because Spirit Airlines probably could use that jet. Like, I would not trust all of the things to work all at the same time on a jet that old, especially if somebody just gave it to you. You know, it was $400 million pre-amortization.
Well, and that's the thing. A new one costs $400 million. So they're either claiming the original purchase price of 13 years ago, like there's no depreciation. Not for nothing, the value of a Boeing 747 does depreciate. So it can go down to as little as $25 million in value. Now this one, because there's all the marble and all this stuff, I mean, it's a floating or flying palace. That's what they're calling it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure the interior decorations cost many millions of dollars.
It's a gold toilet in there somewhere.
It is, for sure. But the problem is that that's not what Air Force One is. Air Force One has to accommodate staff. You know, the president has great accommodations. There's a medical suite. You know, there's all these things, but it still has to accommodate people. Whereas for the Emir, basically all of that thing is for his pleasure. So he's probably got a couple of luxurious suites in there, you know, some needlessly ornate whatever's, but it's not Air Force One. Not for the least of which reasons is that Air Force One needs anti-missile capabilities. They've got to have EMP shielding so that they can't be, you know, if a nuclear war happens and there's a blast, it's got to be shielded against that. It's got to be able to be refueled in the air so it can stay in the air 24 hours a day. It's got to have special communication stuff, encryption, blah, 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 blah.
All this to say is they're not going to retrofit, if they even could, this plane with all the stuff that is needed to ferry around the president of the United States in an official capacity. So what he's got is a private jet.
And if they did try to do it, first of all, it's not instantaneous. It could take 2 years. And it's going to cost about $1 billion to do what you need to do to it to make it Air Force One. And by that time, he's almost out of office. And then he says, well, I'll just do what Reagan did and decommission it and go to the library. So what did the taxpayers get out of it then?
Nothing.
At least for the Boeing jets that are under construction now, even if they're not delivered until 2027, they will last the country for another 30 years. But if you're going to take the damn plane in 2028, what are we getting? How is that a gift to the Defense Department?
There's no way that this is anything other than a personal gift to him.
Absolutely.
You know, although Shay got a point, you know, what old plane.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I would not wish ill on any human.
Nope.
I'm gonna leave that. Take that how you will.
The bottom line is, every day it seems less and less likely to happen. There is so much pushback. Pam Bondi, who was, by the way, a lobbyist for Qatar, not the Qatari 2600.
That might be your best line this year, Chan.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Although Gnarls Barkley or CeeLo would say Xbox versus Atari, but that's okay. You still got PlayStation. PlayStation 1 is really old now too, incidentally, but not as old as the Qatari 2600.
Right.
So what we have is a situation where you think it doesn't have bugs. Not that they'd have to, they'd sweep for bugs normally, but you know, as soon
The
as
whole
that
plane. Go ahead.
got to be.
Yeah, the whole
He
plane is bugged.
probably put stuff in there for freak nasty times anyway, so that he could get his mile high jollies off. And you know, as soon as he is clear to fly in that plane, he's gonna fly. Ain't gonna be no sweeps. Ain't gonna be no, whatever. He's gonna get in that palace and take pictures flying in that palace. It's the first thing he's gonna do. He doesn't care. And meanwhile, in the midst of all of this, while the big beautiful bill is threatening to chop $800 billion out of Medicaid, destroying health insurance for at least 13 million Americans, and all of these unpopular things, which can no longer be hidden because his popularity is in the toilet and the blue state Republican reps are catching hell. Stop. Yeah, we're going to take that off screen. The blue state Republicans are catching hell because their constituents know that they're about to lose a bunch of stuff. He doesn't have the political capital to just spin this. And he goes on Hannity, everything he goes on. You've got Maria Bartiromo talking about these guys fund Hamas. Why are we taking a plane from Hamas? And you got all these people who are being sent away for anti-Semitic this, anti-Semitic that, students losing their visas for writing essays, and you are taking $400 million from a state sponsor of terror.
I love having somebody in the know, like Philly said. Most of that cost on put a plane comes from completely sweeping it, deconstructing it, sweeping it again, retrofitting, like you said, and then rebuilding the whole plane. Plus, the government apparently doesn't have a lawful method of taking ownership, so they can't even have this.
No, it's not going to happen. And if they do, if it does sit, because I think it's sitting on some airfield in Texas right now. If it sits there, it sits there. But it's not going to be Air Force One.
No, it never will be.
And, articles of impeachment, notice to file articles of impeachment have been now read in the House by the guy that
was about to lose his primary anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot. But this is something that is sticking. People don't like this. Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro.
This is what brought me around to the this is how I left that thought dangling, because we went on to something else. But when I asked if you'd ever read the Left Behind series, because I read all the books, and at some point in the book, the person that has taken over the United States is the Antichrist, and he does things like there's signs and there's warnings, and like Europe is like, don't do this, and like I think the religious leaders in other places are like, you really should cut this shit out, and America just goes along with it because they want to. Half people have been disappeared at this point, a tenth, because we suck, but disappeared at this point, and it gets down to where they're taking the mark of the beast, because it's kind of like signing for, it's like using a credit card, chipping in your hand. But at one point, he goes to some temple and cuts off the head of a pig and bathes in that pig's blood all over this temple. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, what the hell have we been doing? Like they wake up from the cult. What the hell have we been doing this whole time? And now you fighting the beast. Like he's no longer got a man's coat on. He's in his final form. And so I'm glad that I'm hoping that we're not going to make it that far, that they are seeing the signs early before we all have to get chipped to buy groceries, and he doesn't end up having to cut off the head of a pig just to prove his point. But the reason that it stuck with me is the Antichrist in this book keeps doing outrageous things one at a time, and people just keep going along with it because he's charismatic. And I see the same thing happening right now. They, and any president, not only would they not have let Obama do this, they wouldn't have let Bush do this. They wouldn't even have let their beloved Reagan do this.
Nope. So
why is this guy so special and different?
The crazy thing is, as much as he's been glitching and falling asleep and stumbling through answers and sounding incoherent and all of this other sort of stuff, if Biden had said these things, it would be a whole scandal.
Yeah.
They basically no pun intended, trumped up these charges of his mental incompetence. He was definitely moving a step slower. I'm not saying he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But to opine that Biden was incapable of doing the duties of his office is a reach.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, what do you say about Trump? And you see, now that you see what you've got, it's very pleasant to see Rand Paul and Ted Cruz coming out as forcefully as they are about this whole thing. That is
Ted Cruz, because he's known for being a walking carpet in the
correct.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, all the Fox people, nobody is really on this. Everybody's Jesse Waters, maybe. Everybody's trying to kind of move past this because I think they see that this is a colossal failure. And it makes him look like a clown to the rest of the world. They tempted him and placated him by having a mobile McDonald's.
Yeah, what the hell?
Can you imagine most state dinners? You have the White House chef who puts together some amazing gourmet, whatever. I still haven't finished the last half of the last episode of The Residence. But, you know, custom cakes and specialty things and all of this sort of stuff.
Fancy French food and stuff, yeah.
You go to another country and they think, you know what's really going to work? Let's get this dude some McDonald's. And they roll up a custom McDonald's truck.
And you actually like it.
And you love it. Healthiest president ever. You eat McDonald's 3 times a day. What are we doing? And this big, beautiful bill is not happening.
No.
Mike Johnson is not going to be able to get it over. We'll see. I don't know when they're going to try to interview Jeanine Pirro to be the Attorney General of D.C. But I don't know if he has enough capital to get that across the finish line.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Again, pig's blood. Bro, we see this now. It's obvious what is happening, and we're not going along with it. You've done too much, too fast, too quick. Honestly, him being the kind of fuckwad idiot that he is has helped. I really want the Democrats to capitalize on this, but they can't because they suck too. They're going to figure out a way to fumble like they always do. But he is vulnerable. You know, there's a whole lot of holes in his armor, and you could drive a truck through them. And all it takes is for one, like Ted Cruz of all people, or one person who has been known to support him to be like, this is dumb. And then Rand Paul is out here. This is silly. You know, other people, I can't believe we're having this conversation about the Constitution. Like, of course we are, because y'all helped him get elected. I just hope that they stick with this. I don't think he can mobilize a terrorist force fast enough to quell these upstarts in the Republican Party, because that's what he would end up doing, is trying to get them to bow to fear. But
right.
Nobody messes with him. Like, he's a stinky P-boy. Don't nobody want to hang out with the P-boy at school. You know, you got pig's blood all over you. Ugh.
I'm envisioning the time when he walks out and does something, not of course like that. It won't be that. But when he does something that's so outrageous that it really shocks people.
What most likely would happen is that he shits his pants while he's at the podium, and then you see it follow him out. That's most likely the thing that would happen. I said it with a straight face because I meant that.
Oh, listen, I don't doubt it. It is entirely possible. I am interested to see how this continues to break down. I'm looking for it to not happen. You know, Pirro has been sworn in, but she's sworn in as an interim because she's not going to get full approval. No. But she's the interim right now, and it remains to be seen if her boxes of wine have been moved with her. But I guess we'll see.
Speaking of moved,
yes,
great lead-in. Apparently, there are some refugees that our white supremacist government thinks it's okay to let in. That would be the Afrikaners 47 something odd white South Africans have been brought to this country with open arms, even though every other refugee program has been indefinitely paused. But these white people can come on in. They are the godfathers of apartheid. And of course, him and Elon, these are Elon's people. So they are loving it. But you know who's not loving it? The Episcopalian Church, because they were told that they needed to settle these Afrikaners. Where was it? In Philly or somewhere? I want to say it was Philly, but they were like, no, let me tell you what we're not going to do, because we spent too much time backing, supporting, and fighting for racial justice, that we are not going to allow people that oppose racial equality to be settled here. So no, we're not going to help you. And then they were like, well, it'll sever your tie with the government. And they were like, click. Yeah. And so actually I have rare footage of the bishop speaking to an audience about how they might have been upset with him. Let me see if I can bring this up for you.
If I offended you, I am going to remind you in advance that I'm very sorry and I apologize for the inconvenience of me not giving a fuck.
It's the snap, no snap. I'm not saying I haven't seen pledges do that before, but I'm not saying.
Yeah, the Germans and the Austrians, whatever you want to call them, you know who they are. But Sam's got a point. The Democrats are too busy trying to be educated rather than going to hell when the Republicans go low. Yeah, I have a sweatshirt made by Grady Baby and Company if you want one, but it's an orange sweatshirt. It's FAMU orange, as a matter of fact. And it says, when they go low, I will scrub the ground. And that's how I feel.
Of
course you like that.
The thing that is crazy to me about this whole Afrikaner thing is they are racist.
Mm-hmm.
They're not particularly friendly towards the Jews. There's a lot of,
they hate everybody.
Yeah, Elon Musk's grandfather was a Nazi before he resettled the family in South Africa. So all of these people and the Jews, Netanyahu was like, we think we're good. We don't need America anymore. We kind of got we don't need your support anymore. We're kind of good over here.
We're full.
Mm-hmm. We're we kind of got Gaza together. We're gonna do our thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of.
I shot my wad and now I need a nap.
And so now and not that they consider it hypocrisy, because they bought into the lie that they've been treated so poorly racially, notwithstanding the decades and a century of subjugation, and how even after apartheid was ended, they still owned and controlled like 74% of the land, of the commercial farming land in South Africa, and
still walked around treating the black South Africans like secondhand citizens.
Yeah,
and engaging in violence against them. Yeah. They were, all of them are Miss Millie, every last one.
And did you see, incidentally, Joy, there was a YouTuber or a whatever, and they showed him like in 2012 where he's like, oh, you got it?
Yup.
Let's roll that beautiful beam footage.
You see, like I was pulling it up when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
Where is my mute button?
A white group of people suffer and not help them because I've been bullied into not giving a shit. That ain't me. Wrong dude. Don't care. These people want to be Americans. They don't want to be South Africans anymore because that country was given over the minute that fucking cocksucking communist Mandela was let out of prison. They're going to live in my house, and I'm going to fucking feed them and take care of them.
Suffice to say that I got involved in the abuse of the minority white race in South Africa a couple of years ago. Got heavily involved. Ultimately ended up sponsoring a family of 4 and help facilitate them from Africa. And obviously, it turned out bad. They did play me, and they admit. In fact, that was one of the things they said was they're bragging about how they played me like a sport game. I spent over $30,000 in that 11 months in money and fed and clothed them. So I might be stupid enough to have fallen for that because I thought with my heart instead of my head. You know what? They cost me a lot of money when they were here, suck and parasite and use people. And then when they're done, they just fucking, go on to the next fucking victim. When they talk to me, it's like, hey, we're a good family. We own a business and we're hardworking people. And, when we get to America, the way we'll pay the rent we'll work for you guys, all right. If anything, we had to work 10 times as hard just to fucking take care of these people. I mean, in 11 months, I got my grass cut 3 times. One time ended up being in a huge argument. Everything fucking free. Lay around, watch TV, and watch fucking movies for 11 months and fucking chain smoke cigarettes and don't do a guy.
I'm in the process of.
I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Oh, I never thought the leopards would eat my face.
Turn my back on my own kind. I somehow thought that I'd be fine. But this. You know what this is? You know what this is? It's the opening gambit in Sinners, where it is obvious that you should not let these white people in your house. And then while you busy being mad at all the people of color outside trying to tell you, hey, that ain't what it looked like, you like, get off my lawn, you Native Americans, and turn around and they didn't ate your family, they didn't ate your husband, and potentially your baby, because there was a crib in that room.
I can't spin off on Sinners things.
Sinners again.
Because there's so much. I am wearing the sweatshirt. You literally thought that just because the white people were only subjugating the black people in that country, that they wouldn't look at you as a sucker. Everybody in the world thinks that Americans are suckers,
yes,
because of who we elected.
Mm-hmm.
And you know who they don't think is a sucker? China.
Right.
Because China agreed. There was a time when China was stealing everybody's IP and they were making these purses and bags and shoes, and it was, they were cheaply made. And then somebody said, you know what? That's not a good idea. We're actually selling a lot of stuff to these people. They're paying us to manufacture the stuff. Let's just keep it cute and do whatever. Then all of a sudden it was like, 145% tariffs. Good. Y'all come on. Mm-hmm. Y'all come over here, buy the cheap stuff. We got it because we making it anyway. So just come.
I need a suitcase.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now the big quote unquote trade. This is what we're saying. Tariff deals. What tariff deals?
Why y'all talking about deals? Why you keep bringing
90 deals in 90 days. And we got 1/2 piece of a deal with the UK, against whom we actually have a trade surplus because we don't buy anything except shortbread biscuits and bad teeth from the UK. And so,
they are trying to import them bad teeth by taking fluoride out of the water.
Well, thank you, RFK. Mm-hmm. But we have like a $12 billion surplus. They buy our stuff. Mm-hmm. And yet you still go to the UK when UK is small potatoes. You go back to China.
And you didn't even negotiate a good deal with the UK.
Not even that. It's a non-deal. That's
right.
The whole point. You just want it to be, and it's not signed. It's not even consummated. So you just wanted a headline to shift that there's a deal because people were saying, there aren't any deals. And so you get a deal with an English-speaking country against whom we have a trade surplus. Mm-hmm. And you leave the biggest dog in the fight on the table. So you had 145% tariffs. When you started off with the 85, China was like, chill, whatever. You went to 145. China was like, okay, 125 against all of your stuff. And then you just dropped it down to 30 for nothing. You didn't get anything from them. Mm-hmm. And then they dropped theirs to 10. So they're like, hey, Americans, we'll still take your soybeans or whatever it is that it's not going to be that much more expensive. We're good. And meanwhile, everything that you get from us is still being hit with the 30% tariff. That's not our choice. We
Mhm.
don't want or need a tariff to be paid. We're good.
This is a
And
rude
yet,
awakening. This is a
that's
rude
it.
awakening for the United States because we have been laboring under the delusion that we are big bad shit since World War II.
Yep.
Now, yes, we went in and wrecked shit. Matter of fact, it was some bully shit that we did because Japan was already surrendering when they dropped those bombs, and it made it seem like the bombs made us surrender. And that's not the case at all. And
Nope.
we didn't do as much as we want to say we did. And we discount some of the very heroes that we're not even going to talk about this Tuskegee Airmen again. But yeah, America's been on some bullshit forever and thinking that they're better than they really are. To the point where most American children don't realize how small our population is with regards to China. They think that America is bigger than China because they misunderstand that Japan is not China. You tell them to pick China on the map and they point to Japan because they stupid. Yeah, I said it. Your kids are stupid. You know,
Dumb.
so, you ask, how did this cockiness of America start? It started with America. We've been thinking we was bad shit from day one. When we kicked the British out of what became the United States. Then each state thought they were better than other states. There is this continual desire to step on others, to elevate yourself. That's part of like the American DNA is I'm better than you because I can beat you up. You know, in every subculture, even in Black culture. I remember Chris Rock talking about that a long time ago. Oh, you went to college, can you kick my ass? Same shit. Same shit. And so we are simultaneously delusional about our place in the world and also isolated from said world. So we don't get a lot of information outside of United States news to tell us, hey, you really ain't all that. So when Trump started trying to pull cards left and right and act like he was big bad shit, everybody was like, we didn't really need you. I mean, we've been playing nice with you because, you know, y'all got some pretty Hollywood stuff, whatever, but no, we can, the world can move on without America, without the United States. I'm not even gonna say America because Canada and Mexico have already worked deals around us. They don't need us either, and they're our only contiguous allies. Everybody else is literally on the other side of the world. And we spend so much time thinking that the other side of the world was all third world country that we are now our own war-torn civilization. Like if you walk down the streets of rural America or urban America, all you see is destitution, homelessness, lack of medical care, torn down buildings, all the things that you would expect out of a war-torn country. And it's right here. And there was no war to do it. It's just negligence, criminality, and bad capitalism. Just, yes.
Low key, it's like The Last of Us.
Yes, if you haven't seen The Last of Us. And if RFK stays in charge, it will soon be.
We'll be there.
Cordyceps fungus eating everybody.
I think that cordyceps is a great way. If you're worried about vaccines, cordyceps will take care of it naturally. It's a naturally occurring cure. Bruh.
Right.
If you don't get a Hall's mentholyptus drop and an IV drip to soothe that throat, some chloroseptic something, you got to chill it out, bro. Right. I don't know.
Rest your throat. Put some lozenges, some Ricola.
You need some lozenges. You need some vape, something to mellow your vocal cords, like something. Some creamy, delicious hot chocolate. I don't know what it is.
Yes, there will be clickers in DC.
There will be clickers.
But Sam has
the Fox News viewers.
You know, Sam says, I never seen him. What? I'm gonna get to the next one. Sam says, I've never seen America as this great country. I've seen it as spam. You can dress it up and make it taste and look good, but it's still cheap treat meat. Yes, that's who we are. We are spam. Matter of fact, we invented spam and spread it throughout the world. So we literally are spam.
Wow.
And other people eat it, but they don't cultivate it. You know, like they know that it's trash. And we forget that it's trash. We thought, Jon Stewart talked about America believing its own bullshit like 20 years ago. Yeah. He's like, they bought the VIG. But look, you know what? RFK got a vibrator in his throat.
I'm gonna leave that one alone, Sam. I'm not even gonna make it to address that. But I think the critical part is that it is unbelievable to me. I thought that, like in the first administration, there would be enough people to kind of pull his coat and say, you can't just put dumb people in.
So
You just can't do it. And to that point, he replaced the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with a guy so lacking in qualifications that he had to sign a waiver to allow him to be chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And you're anti-DEI.
yeah, because they're
All the
anti-black.
best people.
Like if all the black people disappear, they wouldn't have a problem with DI. It is strictly black people.
Oh,
It
yeah.
spreads a little bit to others, but so many other races, because of the shading and skin tone, have been able to approximate whiteness, get lost in the back of the picture, that they're like, oh, they're all right, they can stick around, and they don't raise as much of a ruckus as we do. We are constantly holding up a mirror to white America, like, look at yourself. Do you see you with your unwashed legs? Like, they just mad at us all the time for having standards, being better than we have any right to be, overcoming, because we give lie to the myth of white supremacy. You cannot look at an affluent black person with 2 degrees and a nice house and a family and well-adjusted kids, and you look at your family and your kids over there eating their own hair, and you're just mad. And so you say no DEI, because if they just get rid of black people altogether, then they'll have a chance. But the problem is, if we really were a true meritocracy, you would still suck. You need to be better. That's the thing. You need to stop waiting on other people to be worse and to lessen themselves and to stay in their box so you can play in the sand. You need to learn. You grow up, learn to compete. If you can't compete, then you don't deserve to be at the top. And that's really where it all comes down to. You don't know dumb until you serve with these folks in a military uniform or in a courtroom. Yeah. As we hear over and over again with all of these proceedings that keep getting posted every day, like every day I am continually disappointed by the things that I hear coming out of the House, said political pundits. Like, it's so much, I can't even pinpoint one thing right now in my head. It just comes to me for so many directions that I just end up turning on turning my phone sideways, watching YouTube and watching, wait, let me bring up this picture for you. See this pretty little boy right here? He's one of the members of Stray Kids. That's all I do all day is watch K-pop. This is Hyunjin, and he is one of my children.
He was like an Asian Michael Jackson looking dude.
I mean, that's pretty much what he looks like. Yes, Asian Michael Jackson. That's exactly what. Yes, that is a good comparison. And he dances well too. So I just listen to them sing, and they have some cute little songs, some rap music or whatever, and it's uplifting and they're funny. And you talk about disassociate. I will spend hours going through stuff from back in like 2017 when they first came on the scene at like 19 years old. I'll be like, oh, look at the babies, and follow them every day. I go back and forth all day, every day. I've made new friends on Threads that I'm meeting in real life when we go to the concert in June, because we all are collectively, there's a lot of black women that are collectively dissociated into K-pop and K-drama because it's not even in English. It's a whole nother world. We don't live here. We live in Hongdae. Right. Well, that's a bad example. We live in Itaewon. That's where we live.
Okay. There's a young lady, actually there's 2 that I've been seeing because I'm always fascinated when she pops up on my timeline. And so I engage with the content fully. And so the algorithm's like, oh, he wants to see this. And she is a Black British woman who speaks Chinese. And she gets on chat roulette or whatever. And she does it. I think she specifically goes to target Chinese guys, and they'll say, hello, and she'll say hello, and they'll say, where are you from? And then she'll say something in Chinese, and it's like, and then they'll say in Chinese, you speak Chinese, and then she tries to be modest, and she's like, oh, a little, blah blah blah. And it's like, but your pronunciation is so good. And she's like, oh, thank you. And when they realize that she actually speaks the language and they can't play with her, and they just click off. And then this other guy was talking to her, and there was another guy in the room, and there's a song. I think this is a Korean song, but the song sounds like you're saying the N-word.
So nega is I
Right,
in
right.
Korean. Every
And
song has it in there.
correct. And but the chorus of it is like, nega, 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 ba ba
Mhm.
ba ba ba. And she was like, "Why are you playing that song?" And he's like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "That's not polite." And he's like, "You you you speak Korean?" And she's like, "Yeah." And that's not a nice. Why would you play that song when I'm in the chat?
Mm.
And the dude's like, he turns to his friend. He's like, "She speaks Korean, dude." And he pulls him into the thing. And she's like, "That wasn't very nice." And then they click off the thing because they can't handle it. So it's really interesting to see what is going on between Black people taking refuge in other cultures, like Joy studies Korean
Hmm.
watches the drama. She got me on Extraordinary Attorney Woo, and so
Didn't you love it
um,
though?
so I did. I'm waiting for the next season. I don't know what's going on. It's driving me crazy. And then Squid Game. We're all into Squid Game and all this other sort of stuff. But it's easier to kind of see how those people are navigating their cultures, especially in Korea with like Squid Game, where debt and people being in poverty, and movies like Parasite, where these issues that face so many Americans are also being played out in a way that does not really at all feel like it's an American problem, but you're seeing other people suffer. Wait, what was that show called? Which one,
What
Sam? Extraordinary
extraordinary?
Attorney Woo?
Mm.
It's
Yes,
really good.
it's a very cute K drama called I think it's called The Life of Extraordinary or Extraordinary Attorney Woo. She's a autistic lawyer in
Right.
Korea, and it just kind of goes through her life. And it's real. That's one of the reasons that people like those dramas. So aside from Black women escaping into that, there have been studies that talk about why those shows appeal so much to women all over the world. And you know why? Because they're majority written by women. So
Ah,
it's by us for us, and some of that stuff transcends race and region, but also they're short. It's 16 episodes, and the show is over, and they go on to something else.
right,
And everybody in it is like, there's a lot of them that are lighthearted and fluffy. So if you want
right,
lighthearted and fluffy, you can find that. If you want a horror movie, you can find that. Squid Games is also a K drama,
right.
right? So if you want tense, some really good movie with like some really good action and fight scenes too. So it just depends on what you like. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing when I'm not, because every time I turn on the TV, there's some more bullshit about my country, and the person that other people elected as president that I have to live with is sitting on television shitting on America. And so I just want to be Korean for a little while.
Well, and to give a good example, Extraordinary Attorney Woo is kind of like Ally McBeal in that it has a lot of quirky law cases, and there's interoffice romance, and there's fantasy sequences. So like Ally McBeal that had the dancing baby and all that other sort of goofy stuff, Extraordinary Attorney Woo has like the romantic drama stuff. There's some family drama stuff. And the cases. So it combines a lot of good stuff all in kind of one package.
And it tends to be very heartfelt too. Like, it's not
Oh
very
yeah.
simple. They go deep into like raising an autistic child and what that had to do for her father. Like, it's a really good show.
And she really loves whales.
Yes, well, that's her thing.
That's her thing.
Wait, I got one more thing I'm going to share since we were
Okay.
talking about Korea, because this dude has made a career out of this. He used to be a model, and he talks about how Korean guys are not what you see in the dramas. So he's created this persona. Wait, hang on, here we go.
Oh, I like the black girls. You like the hip hop, like the Kendrick Lamar.
Be for real, bro? Are you kidding me right now?
Do you know how to do the twerking? The Beyonce, the da 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 da. The twerking.
Dude, are you serious? You're just saying that because I'm black, right?
Yes. We could be the witch Khalifa. The witch Khalifa. We could be the black and yellow, black and yellow, black and. You are very.
You better run that game, Playboy. Black and yellow, black and yellow.
I adore him.
That's hilarious. You know the twerking?
He said, "You saying it because I'm black?" Yes.
Yeah. No front. Oh, not. Oh, I'm sorry. No, yes, I'm saying that because yes,
Yes.
that
Duh.
is hilarious. That is hilarious. So we have a couple of other things to talk about this show. I like to jump on this one.
Mm,
Y'all,
you in danger, girl.
you in America, you in danger. The thing that is scary, and when Joe Rogan has the right of something, it's really kind of frightening. But this whole thing about habeas corpus somewhat being suspended and due process being suspended. Here's the exact problem with it, because every Republican talking point is that these are gang members, whatever. Okay, how?
How do you know they're gang members?
How do you know they're gang members? Well, because they haven't gone through due process. They've just been scooped up and sent away without due process. Well, that's because they're illegals. Okay, so somebody comes to you and says, you're a Latino gang member, and they take you away without due process. Prove them wrong. That's the point of the due process.
Mm-hmm.
And to ride on Abrigo Garcia and try to say he's been found, blah, 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 blah. Both Kristi Noem and MTG stepped in it this week about that, pulling out these old things, discredited statements from trusted informants, all this other sort of stuff that's been debunked and unproven. And oh, by the way, the Supreme Court said you were wrong and you got to bring him back. And this kind of segues from the arrest and everybody, you should be scared, to Kristi Noem, because she was the one who specifically got called out by Eric Swalwell. We showed you a couple of episodes ago the infamous picture that Trump shared of Abrigo's knuckles and him presenting this clearly photoshopped, double photoshopped image where they're claiming the marijuana leaf and the smile and the cross and the skull is MS-13. Come to find out, that supposedly stands for smoke weed, get high, love God till you die.
Yeah.
That's all it means.
That makes much more sense.
It literally tracks. Because that's not a regular smiley face. That's a smiley face with the crossed eyes.
Yeah, that's high.
That's high. So Kristi Noem, again, while she was giving testimony, and Eric Swalwell says, will you say yes or no that this picture has been photoshopped? I don't know anything about that picture. Will you say yes or no that this picture has been photoshopped? The reason Abrego Garcia, blah, 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 that's not my question. I'm asking you. I don't know. He had his aide bring the poster in front of her. You won't even turn and look at this poster, and she just keeps lying and she keeps lying and she keeps lying, and he will never be coming back here. Okay, girl, you say that. But the problem with that is that you're not in control.
Right.
And behind the scenes, while he's blustering and while he has Pam Bondi saying stuff and while he has Caroline saying stuff and he's got Kristi Noem saying stuff, behind the scenes, they're actually working on figuring it out. Because they know it's a problem. And it's going to be problematic for everyone. These people who are packing up, you got a parking ticket 12 years ago.
Right. So now we're revoking your citizenship.
Oh, you're done. You're done, baby girl. No, it's a wrap.
And the absolute insult of the fact that someone who came here for a better life and maybe rolled a stop sign one day might get put out of the country that they've worked so hard to be a part of. Meanwhile, people with whole ass criminal records, in fact, their whole existence in South Africa is criminal, just coming here and being settled.
And where, by the way?
Somebody mentioned it earlier, like North Carolina, Ohio. It was a while ago.
You know, I saw something on social media today where it said, you notice how all of a sudden nobody's concerned about the dogs and cats being eaten and nobody's concerned.
Yo, that was Stephen King, and he caught hell about that too, because Black people can't have shit. They can't be happy about nothing. So yeah, North Carolina, Idaho, and Iowa. But he was like, you
Oh,
notice how
go to
nobody-
Idaho. Put them all in Idaho.
why not? But he was like, you notice how nobody's talking about eating the dogs and the cats and things anymore. And people didn't read any further, and they were like, that was a racist trope, and how dare you use? And he's like, I'm using it to prove a point. And they're like, no, see, you're doubling down. You're just like every ally. And people, and like other Black people, like, I really need y'all to realize that Stephen King has been a real one for 45 years at a minimum. And how y'all need to chill the fuck out, because he had a point. Ain't nobody talking about that anymore. He wasn't trying to talk about the Haitians or anything. He was like, you notice how you don't hear that shit? Because he was right.
Right. It fell completely off.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even
early to me. Sent it to me earlier today.
The only thing you're hearing about now is trans athletes.
And I think there's what, 7 in the world?
Yeah,
in the
it's
country?
it's 0.002% or something.
Yeah, he has more felonies than we have trans athletes in the world.
Oh, absolutely. In the entire
factor of 4. Mm-hmm.
And they're also pushing these trans people out of the military. It is absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy that we are at this point in this country. When you had George Bush in office, we knew he was an idiot, but we had been attacked, and by God, when somebody attacks us, we're going to rally together as Americans. And so
I had a flag on my car. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you give him his participation trophy, and you walk him across the finish line to get through. And that gave us 8 years of Obama. So thank you, George, for being such a horrible president. But now you had 4 years of Trump, and it was a disaster.
Yeah, and then they re-upped it because
they re-upped it.
Oh, who said it? I it was so I followed so many pundits, I can't forget who it was, but they said they're so busy trying to make sure that we don't have, that they will keep it from themselves just to make sure we don't get it.
Right.
And the opposite is, if they would just move out of the way just a little bit, we could all rise, we could all be great together. But they don't want us to be great together. They want us to be subservient or below them. And they got to keep us, they got to stay in the water to keep us drowning. Nobody's dry, right?
Because you're exerting all your energy and keeping us down. You can't even climb up.
If you would just, move, get out the way, something. We'll take it with us, because we're very welcoming. We're going to clown you for being assholes for 400 years, but ultimately we'll be all right with you,
It is, they are stopping American citizens from crossing the border into Canada.
Yes. So if you thought, oh, I'm gonna run up to Canada, no, you're not. And you would think that, well, they want us to leave. They want everybody out. No, they don't. Nope. They don't want everybody out. What they want out is a certain amount, so they could put fear into everybody that stays. And then they want to turn everybody that stays into a mindless worker, so we can re-up on when they thought America was great, which was pre-Civil War. That's what they want. And it won't be slaves picking cotton in the fields. It won't be that. We got machines for that. It'll be you being a worker that fixes the machine. And that'll be your job. I don't care if you had a PhD in your last life. And that's what happened in The Handmaid's Tale. They took doctors and philosophers and teachers and pediatricians and everything and turned them into cooks, drivers, whatever they needed. People working in those mysterious tar pits that were somewhere in the middle of America or whatever.
Yeah, the radioactive, the gulags.
The gulag, yeah.
So it's, y'all, I was in a discussion, a former. Go ahead.
I'll say this: the scary part is, it's not like they're just picking up people that you wouldn't recognize on the street, like a Brigham. They arrested a judge who, like you said, has been indicted. They arrested the mayor, and so
Ross
these are government. Say his name again.
Ross Baraka.
And so Ross Baraka out of Newark, New Jersey. So when the mayor of a whole city gets arrested for doing what? Nothing. The whole story is they were protesting outside of an ICE agency, and everybody told him he couldn't go in because he was not a federal official. He was local, so he stayed outside. And while he was waiting outside for the federal folks to come back out, they arrested him for trespassing and disturbing the peace, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I'm standing here. I'm not even on your property. I'm across the street. He was doing nothing wrong, and they sent 20 police cars out there. And that's where you see that video of the people when they finally came back out and realized something was going on, of the federal employees getting roughed up, and the one senator saying this is freaking ridiculous, because it all is. But it's not about can they make the charges stick. It's not about him getting out of jail later. It's about them making everybody in America feel like you could be next.
Yep.
Keep running your mouth and see if we don't come drag you out of your house. That's what they want, is everybody afraid of what could happen to them.
It is really amazing that anti-intellectualism is perceived as a virtue in our day and age. I have a frat brother, not Charles, not Chuck, who is a former co-host of the show. When Chuck and I envisioned the show, I was on the progressive side, and Jimmy was on the right side, and Chuck was kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. But Jimmy Green had a post, and we were talking about the whole plane. And it started talking about drug prices. He was basically saying, listen, I don't care who does it. If my drugs are less expensive, then I'm good with that. Let's celebrate what we can. That was basically the thing. And of course, because he used to actually be a Republican, like kind of an operative, a lobbyist, he still has people in his group who are Republicans, even though he has disavowed the Republican Party. And so one of the guys came in and was basically extolling the virtues of Trump. I don't see why people, such and such and thus and so. And he said, it's a gift. I mean, can you imagine if they had floated the Statue of Liberty over here and we said no and sent it back and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And just the idea that he presented it as though the whole statue was already built and coming over here on a tugboat or something was something that was kind of funny to me. So I just went in and I said, one of the key differences is that even though the Statue of Liberty was gifted to us during an administration, it was not a gift to the president. It was a gift to the country, and the country has enjoyed the benefits of it. And it is still exactly where it was when it was given to us. And France was our biggest ally in our battle for independence. And it was a celebration of those longstanding traditions before we started banning French fries and 100 years of our nation's existence. That's why we got the Statue of Liberty. Meanwhile, this Qatari jet is worth $400 million, which we would get for free. However, it's a white elephant because it's going to take $1 billion to make it usable as Air Force One, and that'll take a number of years. And so he might get a year's use of it as president, but then his stated plan, is to decommission it and give it to his library. So all of the money that was spent on retrofitting it now is a wash. Not to mention, we've got 2 planes that Boeing is doing already to replace the aging 2 Air Force Ones, because you got to have 2 Air Force Ones. You can't just have Air Force One. You got to have 2. And he actually came back to me saying, you think you know more than anybody else, and such and thus and so. And I was like, bruh, these are like easily findable facts. I'm not an idiot. But, so you're a member of Congress? You're a defense contractor now? I'm like, no, but the Emoluments Clause is literally in the Constitution, and it says Congress has to approve a gift like that. And he can't get Congress to approve that gift. It's not happening. So the fact that he would come for me in that way, and I had to deconstruct him again a second time just to let him know, and called out his ad hominem attack and ended with a bless your heart, is a really problematic aspect of political discourse in this country these days. And it hurts me and offends me that just speaking regular truth and facts is so offensive to someone just because I happen to be on the opposite side of an argument. Go ahead, bring an argument. But you say all presidents have scandals. Name a president that has a $400 million scandal, and then I'll raise you a $2 billion crypto scandal. I'll wait. Who's done that?
And we've had presidents shoot at people.
Absolutely.
Vice presidents anyway. So the thing
Teapot
is,
Dome scandal. There's
Yes.
plenty of scandals.
yeah, that have
Nothing
cost
this
the
big.
country millions of dollars, but not like this. Not in a single individual accepting a gift that
Nope.
is going to cost us more. That he's going to take taxpayer money. The same taxpayers that get
3
mad
times.
because you know what? This brings me to another something that happened to me in the past. I had a guy that I considered a friend with coworkers, etc., in Houston. He was cool, or so I thought. And then when Trump started rising to power, he started talking crazy. And it's what I've noticed about whenever they argue with you, they have to cut you off. They don't want you to finish your statement because at the end of that statement is logic, and they can't let you get there. They got to shut you down before you get to the logic, because then their brain implodes with that cognitive dissonance. And he is telling me that all government funding to schools should be cut. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I said, doesn't your niece go to like private school? He goes, yeah, but the people funding. I said, so what you're saying is only rich people's kids deserve to go to school. And so his rationale behind all of this cutting funds and vouchers we were talking about, neither one of us have kids, by the way. He's just talking crazy points that he's talking, and I'm talking like altruistic education of the next generation. He's like, because nobody needs a rock wall. What the fuck are you talking about? They bought a rock wall, and
I heard that. Yeah.
He
Isn't
was
that what
mad.
all kindergartens are going to have a rock wall now? It's like
Exactly. That was his argument. All these kids, they can barely speak, they can barely read, and they don't need a rock wall. You think that they're going to put a rock wall in every school with your taxpayer dollars? Did it ever occur to you? And then when I talk about cutting you off, I said, did it ever occur to you that the boosters, and before I could finish talking, he cut me off again because he didn't want to hear nothing about the alumni of UT Austin paying for the goddamn wall, because that's what happened. It wasn't taxpayer dollars. It was a gift from the alumni, and it wasn't more than what, maybe a couple $100,000, if that.
Yeah,
because it's a wall, right? It is plaster and rubber. But he lost his shit over it, and that was the last time I talked to him, as a matter of fact. Behind him not wanting to admit that he was a little bit wrong about that. You know, like Sadie said, you cannot exchange facts and data with maggots without them devolving into name calling. Matter of fact, even somebody online, I think it was Booker Squared, and she said, you know, these maggots, and they're like, you know what? That's a slur because it's you're bastardizing the bad word for a gay person, blah blah blah. And so why should exactly? And so if she had to come back and was like, your vocabulary is so limited that you've never heard of a larval version of a fly being called a maggot before. And then she was all kind of bitches and hoes. That's how dumb they are.
It's literally the little baby worms that are in your garbage can in the summer. That's yes. Literally what a maggot is. My God. People, oh my gosh, yeah. The chief librarian of the Library of Congress. Mm-hmm. So apparently, Caroline thinks that the Library of Congress lends out books.
That's how stupid they are. And so we're going to come back to the Library of Congress because that's really, really serious. But also, earlier you said he can't keep putting stupid people into his, because people checked him last time and it seems like he doesn't have anybody to check him before. That was the screening. He checked people that checked him last time, got summarily fired. And now it's understood. Again, it's about instilling fear in people. You come on my team, you do what I say, no questions asked, or I'll fire you and potentially ruin you financially just because once I cut you loose, you know, they're going to come for you because you've committed crimes under my name. Because that's what he has people do. That's old school gangster stuff. We see that in every criminal movie, right? Go kill somebody for me. And now I got you because I know you killed somebody. Now you have to stay loyal to me. He's doing that type of stuff. Go do something egregious in my name, and I'll protect you. But now you can never step up to me, because if you do, I'm going to cut you loose and let you fall for that egregious thing. And so all of them are just buckling under the bully pressure of this ridiculous president. And they are actually, none of them qualified. So they don't know what they don't know. That's how you end up firing everybody that's responsible for the nukes. That's how you end up with New Jersey's airport being all fucked up the way it is right now because of the losses of FSA people there. Like you said, as the ignorance and stupidity of so many. Trump and RFK and Trump is AFK and his team is governing via button mashing. I love this gamer reference. Trump is not even in the room, and they just sit over there, just making patterns on the PlayStation because they don't know what the hell is going on. Right?
I can't. I just it is beyond. It is beyond what I consider to be, well, it's not quite the worst scenario, but to see how much of Project 2025 is literally in process right now is so disconcerting.
Yes.
I honestly didn't think they would be able to get away with as much as they have. But listen, we are in the middle of 2025. You got another 3 or 4 months before the campaign season for the midterm starts. And that's what they're really concerned about.
Mm-hmm. And they were really trying to corral the Republican Party into going along with whatever he says. But, they could not. They needed him and his cult of personality to get this through and take back the House and the Senate and the executive branch. They needed him for that. Now he is a burden because Qatar would not have offered the president of the United States a plane if it was anybody but him. But
absolutely.
They knew they could very with him. He's made it very clear that he takes personal bribes, and so that is something that I don't think the architects of Project 2025 counted on, was the maverick nature of his personality, where he will just capriciously decide to do something. And yes, he does what they tell him, but he also does stuff that they didn't tell him to do, and it's messing with their plan. And so they've premature capitulation of the economy and of him with all these deals and everything. He came too quick, and so now they don't know what to do with him.
You know what he is? He's Megan. You thought he was going to be a compliant puppet,
but he just out here doing a little swing dance and kicking your ass.
And pulling out paper cutter blades and chopping your damn head off and doing backflips. He's Megan. And you counted on being able to control him. And he's like, it's did you see Thunderbolts?
I did.
So when Bob, who is the Sentry, finally gets on his full costume and he's realizing the full extent of his powers or whatever, Valentina is like, you got to listen to me and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, but why do I need to listen to you?
Yeah.
I
that's
have all
the beginning
the
of the end. Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. I'm actually the president. And so I can do what I want. You told me I could do what I want. You told me when you showed me the PowerPoint, when you showed me the 3 slides of Project 25, slide 1, win. Slide 2, do this. Slide 3, you get a jet. I'm on that mission. I'm there. Why are you trying to change the rules all of a sudden? What do you mean I can't do whatever I want? I'm the president. You told me I could do whatever I want. You told me I could be a dictator on day 1 through day, 1200. That's what you told me. And now you're trying to change it up? You were right when you said that. You were right. And anybody who says you weren't right is wrong. That's where we are. Which is crazy to me. It's crazy.
And we'll weather the storm or we won't.
We will.
I know that it is going to take another generation for America to regain its standing in the world rankings, Like we're looking at 2050 at this point.
At least.
We may be, you always hear about first world and third world problems, never hear about second world. We may end up being second world.
That's what it feels like. Because I don't even know where second world went. but it seems like we're headed there because nobody respects us. I have a colleague who just went to Italy, and she enjoyed herself. She and her husband had a great time. But the thing she didn't factor into was that people from other countries were going to give her shit. And that's what happened. And, luckily, tourism-driven countries are happy to take your money. They're not going to treat you too badly. But she took a fair amount of shit for being an American. Wow. Okay. I mean, I give David Hogg a lot of credit. I don't give him as much credit as some of the people who have real, who have taken to try to actually run for office to fix things. But he is an agitator and he is a fundraiser and he has a good platform. His platform resonates with a lot of people. And it's interesting and promising to see that as Trump's actions become increasingly indefensible, you have fewer people who voted for him who are riding for him the way they were.
Right.
So, especially people who've lost their farms, people who've lost their businesses.
People whose relatives got deported.
And those people, now they're not cheering. He's about to do this expensive ass military parade in just under a month. And it's going to cost tens of millions of dollars to do a North Korea style military parade. He certainly has the permits on wrap, but whether or not it ends up being supported or whether or not he decides to call it off at the last minute because there's not going to be anybody there. Can you imagine how embarrassing it would be to have all those tanks rolling down a street? And tanks aren't good for streets, incidentally.
Right. Right.
But
also, nobody's coming to see you. Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis.
Ain't nobody. They're not paying to fly there for what?
Well, you know what? This makes sense, Phil. He said second world countries are just financial pass-throughs. Take a good look at what the UK has become. Yeah, because aren't they our de facto ancestors, so to speak? So yeah, I could see us ending up. What we use here is for training. Oh, the tanks we use here are for training. But yeah, I could see us ending up like just a grand money laundering scheme of the United States. People just come through here.
Like the Cayman Islands are a second world country.
Yeah, we'll be a pass through. This is what people stop on their way to Russia or Canada or something. Let's fly into New York and rent a car and go to a real country.
Some folks paid for that. Some folks voted for that. I didn't. I'm happy with my vote.
Happy with my vote.
I'm comfortable.
Oh, you know what? You got a point. A parade in June with a bunch of fit guys.
And he's going to play YMCA.
Right? And do that dance he likes to do.
I saw that little extra you put.
I had something in my jaw.
Wow.
So to answer somebody's question earlier, yes, we probably will I will drag Tom to hell today like I normally do. We halfway there.
Almost there. We're almost there.
So
what else do you have to talk? I mean, there's always so much every single week. We're kind of into wrap up mode at this point.
Yeah, I think we can. I think I think we've talked through everything that I had on the list to talk about. Yeah. I shot my wad and I need a nap. I'm done.
Yeah. So I will say again, if you haven't seen Sinners is so a part of the cultural landscape that they have these AI generated videos of babies synced to the dialogue of Sinners, and
it's super cute.
It is adorable. I just saw the second one. The first one is the scene where Cornbread is trying to get back in. And the little Cornbread baby is amazing. Amazing. And then I just saw another one. I'm trying to remember. It was Mary outside with Remick when she goes outside the club to try to finesse the money. That's the second
I'm trying to
one.
see if I can. Oh, wait, hang on. I think I found one. Yes, here we go.
Yeah, let's show that beautiful bean footage.
Did I bring it in? Well, there we go.
Make it big before you start playing it. There you go.
Yeah.
We started over.
Side and let me on in now.
Why you need him to do that?
Come on, Annie.
You're strong enough to push past us?
Well, that wouldn't be too polite now, would it, Miss Annie? I don't know why I'm talking to you anyway. Smoke.
Don't talk to him. You're talking to me right now. Why you can't just walk your big up in here without an invite, huh? Go ahead. Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead.
So you listening to this? Now we out here playing games, telling ghost stories,
He
in
looks so
place of
confused.
doing what we ought to do.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another. And being polite. Now we is one people, and we shouldn't go in barging into other folks' places uninvited. So you've been in and out of here all day. Ain't never need an invite then. Yeah, something ain't happening. Can I at least get my money?
Oh, okay. I was about to say I hadn't seen that. That was a snitch longer than I had seen before.
Mm-hmm. So cute.
But I will say this because this isn't a spoiler or anything, but I saw something today which struck me. The guy who was analyzing the twins, he noted that Stack, the flashier one, the party one, he dressed like an Italian. He has a fedora. He's got a red suit that's a full-on suit. And Smoke dresses more like an Irishman, a simple hat and the tweed vest and jacket.
I did not catch that.
I didn't, man. When I tell you, people are like dissecting every little piece of this movie. It is so amazing. I happen to wear my Sinners sweatshirt. Shout out Fear of God.
You say Dance with the Devil under there? Where'd you get that sweatshirt from?
From fearofgod.com, but they're sold out. He just did a minimal drop in support of Altadena Fire Rescue. So
I mean,
whenever he does,
I can get a sweatshirt made. I can go to my
yeah. No, but I mean, this is the actual Jerry Lorenzo Fear of God. And shout out to my frat brother for actually killing Met Gala this year. He's got an installation at the Met Gala Museum about Black Dandyism. And the Met Gala this year raised more money than any previous Met Gala. Now,
in
it was
the
on
history of Met Galas.
Right. Tyler Perry gave a bunch of money, which of course, but they really did have some amazing stuff. Frickin' Tiana Taylor.
Tiana Taylor took the night for me.
Killed it. Well, I gotta say, I'm a real fan of the ArchAndroid.
Janelle Monáe?
Janelle Monáe.
Yeah, she did her thing.
She had that overcoat with the Trump Lloyd effect, and then you peel it off, and the suit is the reverse of the Trump Lloyd jacket. Ooh, man.
Well, did you see the after party outfit though?
Oh no, I didn't even see
So
that.
basically, it's the same suit, but once she got to the after party, you discover that there's no shirt under that blazer. She just had pasties on, and she was blazer open for the after party. Because she likes to put the girls on display. I'm here for it. I ain't mad at all. If my breasts were that perfect, they'd be on camera right now.
I was at an event where I was sitting 7 feet away from her, and she had to walk up on stage and pass within 7 inches of me.
Did you slip her?
My life, I did actually. my life. She's an amazing woman. So Coogler and Ironheart, I will say, count me as one of the people who wasn't sure why we were getting Ironheart. I'm still not sure why we're getting Wonder Man. I do not
Wonder
understand.
Man. The hell is Wonder Man?
You know him because he's an Avenger. He's a very popular Avenger, but he's being played by Yaha Abdul Mateen II, who's
Okay.
Black Manta in Aquaman.
I will watch that.
So Wonder Man is he was a guy whose brother is the Grim Reaper, and their family was an industrialist family, kind of like baby Starks. And he was in love with Wanda Maximoff.
Oh.
And he ends up getting killed, and the Grim Reaper, introduces him to the Masters of Evil. Zemo wants to resurrect him, and he submits him to this ionic treatment. And so initially he just has like all of these powers because he's powered by ionic energy, and then his body actually turns into physical ionic energy. And because he was in love with Wanda, when Ultron made the Vision, he used Simon Williams' brain patterns as a human template for the Vision's personality, which is why the Vision ended up also falling in love with Wanda. Anyway, his character now, once he got regenerated and he's an indestructible ionic being, he decides he's going to be like a movie star. And so he does all his own stunts because he can't be hurt in any way. And so that's the thing. I don't know if it's going to be She-Hulky. His brother, Eric Williams, who is the Grim Reaper, is also in the series. But it's like, I don't know why we're doing this. We had Echo, we had, Ms. Marvel, which I enjoyed. I didn't get through Echo. And it just struck me like this is going to be a She-Hulk, which I enjoyed. I didn't like Titania, but I did enjoy the show.
I like She-Hulk, yeah.
But it didn't really do well. And so I just didn't understand Secret War or Secret Invasion. I didn't understand why these shows were made. And so here we have two more. But if you haven't watched the trailer, go watch the trailer. Ryan Coogler is an executive producer. He's not a writer. He's not a director. But
that's an important distinction. Because a lot of folks,
really
I've been making that mistake with Jordan Peele's projects, like thinking that he wrote or directed and he's just executive producing.
Yeah. And like him.
Yeah.
He didn't write that. He's just executive producing it.
It looks good.
It's not to say that Ryan Coogler would put his name on something that he felt was trash. I don't believe that.
No.
I'm just saying it's not him. I have not been disappointed by any Ryan Coogler film.
Project, right? And I will say, watching the trailer, it finally dropped. And the first thing that somebody put under Marvel's comment section on Threads was not Marvel getting bullied by the public into dropping this trailer, because we really did bully the shit out of them. Like, where's the trailer? Why you're not in the trailer? Ryan Coogler did the trailer.
It's a month out.
It's a month out. But when I saw the trailer, my boy, I can't remember his name, but I adore him. He played Mars Blackman in the remake of She's Gotta Have It. He played. He was in The Heights. He was in Hamilton. You know what I'm talking about?
Ramon. Yeah, he's the main villain, the Hood.
Yes, I love that little baby. He is very, very talented. I adore him in a motherly kind of way. Yeah.
And Mephisto is also going to make his MCU appearance.
I did not know that.
Sacha Baron Cohen is.
He'll make a good Mephisto.
Oh no, he looks the part with no makeup. So.
Yeah, and that's one more way that they can bring the X-Men into it, because Mephisto I've always associated with X-Men.
I mean,
he bridges.
He's certainly with the Scarlet Witch and the West Coast Avengers. He actually was a part of the reason she had those two kids. But Mephisto is really big against the Silver Surfer. He's had some dalliances with Dr. Doom, because Dr. Doom dabbles in the dark arts and all that other sort of stuff.
That's a whole lot of alliteration in that sentence. Well done, by accident.
So we're big nerds here. So
yes, and we are rambling way off. We went from the Doom. See, this is what happens when your brain tries to save itself, is you dissociate very easily. Anything to be more upbeat. So
it is summer. And so, we've got Fantastic Four at least coming up. Marvel Zombies is coming in the fall. Ironheart is coming in June. So there probably will be some more nerd stuff. Anthony Ramos, that's him.
I love him.
There's probably more nerd stuff that's going to be coming to the pod as we continue through the year, or through the summer. But go get your A-list. You might as well get your A-list now. It's 4 movies a month, any format, for the cost of 1 LA movie ticket. So I'm pretty sure they have the price scaled to other markets. So for the price of 1 evening movie ticket, you can see 12 or 16 movies a month.
And since AMC is not paying us to say that, I will also say Regal has its own rewards program as well. So just, get outside, go to the movies, go see some stuff.
A-list is better. But you don't have to pay any premium fees with A-list. And as the last time I checked, you do have to with Regal. But
Phil, that's just so you know how long it takes from when y'all type something for us to see it on stage. It takes maybe 30, 40 seconds at a minimum. So sometimes we'll be off a topic before we can put the comment up.
Before we can put the thing up. Yeah.
Yeah. So it does take a while.
Apologies. But that said, everybody, keep yourselves well. Be well. Guard your joy.
Find your happy place. Drink some tea.
Protect
Lay
yourself.
down. Right.
Get you some. I highly recommend Extraordinary Attorney Woo if it's still on Netflix, because apparently
it is still on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay, because season 2 apparently has been in the can. So I don't know if this is if they're trying to renegotiate or they don't want to play ball, but I'm gonna see if I can find it, because I really do enjoy it, and you have to watch it with subtitles anyway. I can't.
Yeah, all of them. It's like watching anime. All of it is really better with subtitles. Even though I'm notorious for watching anime in English because I don't be wanting to read sometimes. And my friends know that about me. But yeah, it's definitely better with the subtitles.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That said, I'm Tom Cunningham.
I'm Joy Stevens.
And this is Steel Sharpens Steel. Peace out, everybody.